This is going to sound crazy if you are a sort of normal person, but much like with Obamacare, Republicans are still trying to kill legislation that has been passed, but Republicans are trying to kill net neutrality once again. You might remember that at one point in their anti-Obamacare crusade, Republicans thought, okay, maybe we can't repeal the law, but we can stop funding all of the things that Obamacare does. And they're sort of thinking along the same lines with net neutrality, except in terms of authority rather than money. They say maybe we can't repeal net neutrality, but what if we take away the FCC's authority to enforce the law? This bill is called the No Rate Regulation of Broadband Internet Access Act, and it was already approved by the Energy and Commerce Committee of the House last month. Democrats, of course, did object to it. Democrats and Republicans, similar on many issues, different on many issues. Net neutrality is one of those issues, at least in the case of many Democrats. And the bill would not cancel net neutrality, so to speak, but it would strip the FCC of the authority to set broadband rates, of the authority to review whether a price being charged by, for example, Comcast is reasonable. And it's controversial mainly because it defines rate regulation so broadly that it could actually prevent the FCC from enforcing net neutrality rules in full against blocking, against throttling, and all of that stuff, Lewis, that years so many groups were working on. And now the Republicans, yet again, saying, here's a new idea. Let's try to block that thing.
It's funny because you probably would not hear them say the same type of thing about energy, right? I mean, when a company that controls the energy in any given city, the Republicans wouldn't say, well, let's just let them charge whatever they want and throttle whoever they want anytime they want.
Although they have pushed for deregulation of many utilities, which has allowed alternatives, as yesterday's telemarketer call showed us, alternatives to the public regulated utility, but oftentimes those are worse deals.
Still delivered by the same energy company.
Still supplied by the same company.
So I'm sure many of these Republicans just still don't even understand the whole net neutrality thing.
No.
But many of them are just protecting their corporate sponsors, of course.
Yeah, and Lindsey Graham, who was on the technology committee, admitted he never sent an email in his life. I mean, these are the types of people making law here. So sure, net neutrality would still exist if this bill were to pass completely, but the FCC wouldn't really have the authority to hold anybody to the rules. It's a brilliant, sort of completely corrupt and evil strategy. It's brilliantly evil. The good news is that President Obama said, no matter what happens in the House and Senate with this nonsense, I'm going to veto it. And the reality is that this authority of the FCC is not a huge deal. This is the type of authority that the FCC has long had with regard to other utilities, making controversy out of nothing, Lewis, by appealing to this sort of, oh, we need to protect consumers from the government having too much authority. There's nothing at all controversial about the FCC having this authority.
No, and wasting time and money on something that they know President Obama is going to veto.
I've met a few pseudo right-wingers, and I say pseudo because they think they're right-wingers. They're actually just clueless about politics, and they think that consumers sort of have too much power in the U.S., and that the internet is fine. We don't need to do more regulation of the internet. If they only had a sense of how the internet status quo existed in other countries, in Europe and South Korea, in terms of cost and internet speed, they probably still wouldn't care because, as I mentioned, these people are generally clueless, but you would hope that would illuminate to them that the lack of power of consumers here has led to really expensive, crappy internet.
Yes, I find that ignorance is really what leads to many people voting Republican, and so you can try to inform them and show them facts and information which they tend to avoid.